And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Yes, it's Joel Soroford coming right back at you here from the Lakers Fast Break. Pop culture cosmos, inside sports fantasy football, and game source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all our great shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Plus, if you like, share, subscribe, follow, or anything to support us here at the Lakers Fast Break. Yes, another game, another L. Today, to talk more about, I would say, tragedy. I don't know any other word to use here. Today, we have our number one Lakers blogger on the interweebs and Lakerholic from Lakerholics.com. Tom, I don't know I think I've said this a few times, but I don't really know where else to go in this Laker land of ours. Please give us some therapy and give us something try to give us something. Just give us something. I'm here we're all here to listen.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Joe, taking over for Gerald. And
thank you.
This is the Lakers are caught into sort of a no man's land. It's almost like a movie where you keep repeating yourself like Groundhog Day. The truth of the matter is that we don't have enough shooting, probably even when they're shooting normally. And when they're shooting terribly like they're doing right now, we have absolutely zero chance of winning games. And nobody really said that the problems of why we weren't winning games was entirely because of Russell Westbrook. The problem always was that we just didn't have enough shooting, nor anybody to back up both of LeBron and AD. The two young centers that we had turned out to be busts, and it puts us in a tough situation. So the way I look at the game is that it's a funny thing. I posted on Twitter the other day something that said the following is true. These are all truths. The Lakers have a terrible shooting team. The Lakers are 30th on offense in the league. The Lakers have the lowest field goal percentage and the lowest 3-point percentage of any team in the league, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the same time, the Lakers were ranked second or third, depending on how things fluctuate on defense. And they had an excellent first half of this defense. And we see a lot more athleticism and from the younger players that have replaced the older players from last year. And I think the thing that still comes out is that as currently constructed, this team is not a playoff team. Then it's going to lose these games that we're losing despite even having LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And part of that is that LeBron James and Anthony Davis really aren't playing like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Their play has been pretty spotty. LeBron didn't even take a shot in the first quarter, which was strange. It was kind of Kobe-esque, in a certain way. And one of the factors that I think you have to chalk up as one of the important takeaways from the game is LeBron gave up a little bit, started just settling for firing up threes, rather than, and that's a frustration that is one of those few frustrations besides the 0-4 hole that we've dug for ourselves already. I mean, the announcers kept saying that there's only been two teams in history that have started off 0-4 and made the playoffs. I mean, the news is out there that also reported from Woj that Indiana and Utah haven't heard from the Lakers. There's been no phone calls from Rob. It's great to announce a plan that we're going to be patient. We're going to hang on, and really what you're saying is that, boy, the Nets look terrible. So maybe we can get Kyrie. Maybe we can get Kyrie. So let's stall. Let's wait. Let's wait for this mythical guy who's going to take away turns from LeBron and AD and turn down some good trades that we might be able to make. But in a way, I wrote in Lakerholics.com in my article for today that this is a golden opportunity for the Lakers to steal a win, without Westbrook. And that would really just send a message across everything. And, and maybe, but, you go 0-4 and you're looking at the teams that you're playing, that you're up, you could be 0-8 or, 0-9 or something like that. And teams 0-4 have never made the playoffs. How long can Rob Pelinka wait is the big question right now. I mean, frankly, I think he's, what do you think every day you wait is only going to make you look even more desperate. When the phone finally rings and hey, it's Pelinka, and you can just see those other guys at the other end smiling, saying, they probably have lotteries already at each of the teams. How long before Rob calls? Everybody put their bucks in the pot, and we got a real winner here.
I think the problem with this issue is deeper than just wins and losses at this point. There is a deficiency in assets, and not just in terms of draft picks. It's just there's really nothing they can give that would have any value really without having
I see that completely different, Joe. Listen, what teams want are other teams' draft picks. And the more possibility that those draft picks could be high, could be low picks, like top 5 picks, really increases the value. And the problem is that most of the time the picks that they're getting are from teams that are terrible, because those are the ones that are trading their picks. And with the Lakers, they're getting picks that are probably timed to be post LeBron James and very probably post Anthony Davis. They remember what happened post Kobe Bryant and how those picks were all number 1 and number 2 and so forth down the line. We didn't get the lucky bounce of the ping pong balls to get the number 1 pick, but we had 3 number 2s and a number 7. And that's what people are betting on when they look at the 2027 and 2029 first round picks. If I can get the Lakers to give me those picks unprotected, they're the solid gold eggs that are out there as far as draft capital goes, because everybody figures that these are going to be top 5 picks, and if you can get your hands on 2 of those guys, see, everybody says the Lakers have a disadvantage because of how desperate they are, and everybody knows it. The other side is that they have these 2 golden eggs, and there are 3 teams out there, 3 teams that really would like to have them. We know that Danny Ainge is really coveting those picks. That's exactly what he wants. Those are the crown jewels of everything he's been able to pull together, and all of those unprotected picks he's collected. These would be the crown jewels. And the Pacers, they haven't moved Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, and they probably could have moved him for other teams in other situations, but they're not interested in that. And they're obviously tanking, so they want to be in. Every time they win, it's just like the Lakers losing. Every time we lose, we're further from being able to recover and get into the playoffs. Every time they win, they're further from being able to get a lot of ping pong balls and draft Victor Wembanyama. So it's, in a way, these are can't lose games for me as a Lakers fan, because if they win, great. I don't mind the team winning. It means they're showing good. And I think I see a lot of things about this team I like. They play defense, They're not great. They're not starters. We got 3 guys playing that aren't starters. We need to replace all 3 of them with the 3 guys that we get from Westbrook, then maybe we have to throw in Nunn, and Nunn was really frustrating tonight. He did play better at the end, but boy, early in the game, he was just killing us. And he should be a guy that, I mean, he had such a good preseason, and then all of a sudden just couldn't seem to shoot, and it seemed to catch everybody on the team,
Yeah, and I think that's the problem I think Pat Riley had with him is massive inconsistency. Is when he's bad, he's really, really bad. When he's good, he's good. I see a lot less talent. Again, when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis on your team, you automatically have talent on your team.
Right.
There's something I just can't figure out what happens at halftime with this team to where they come out in the third quarter.
No, but look at last game, they came out and they had that great halftime where they took the big lead. They had 31-point halftime, and third quarter was their thing. And that's what I was hoping they would do this time, because it reminded me a lot of how they closed the end of the first half, against the Blazers, and then came out and dominated the third quarter and came from behind it. They seemed to get a lot of bad calls, and LeBron seemed to be not able to dominate as what, and we couldn't shoot. The problem is that you can't get shooters on minimum salary. You can't get elite 3-point shooters on minimum salary. That just doesn't happen. So we knew that the Lakers knew that it'd have to be the Westbrook trade that got them the shooters, and that's why they got a lot of young guys who could play defense, who are athletic, and they thought, but the guys they got are all, if they're rotation players, or if they have a chance to be rotation players, it's as a second string backups. It's not as a starter. I mean, if the Lakers named 4 players that they targeting, supposedly, at least through various sources: Miles Turner and Buddy Hield from the Pacers, obviously Terry Rozier from the Hornets, and the other one was
on Charlotte's team,
Jefferson, the guy, the small forward or shooting guard from the Spurs.
It starts with a P, right?
No, I think it's. God, I can't think of his name right at this moment.
Let's see. Is it Pol? I could never pronounce his
that's
name.
the center. He's the center.
You're
I think
talking
it's
about
Jefferson.
the guard. Oh, Josh Richardson.
Josh Richardson. Sorry, yeah, Jay Rich. Yeah. So they'd like to get, those are the 4 targets they get, and there is a way. If there's a way to get Rozier, I think that they could offer a package of players. Let's say they use the 2 first-round picks to get Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. Then they turn around and you look at Rozier, and Charlotte, he's had a 4-year, $96 million left on his contract. If the Lakers would take that up and give them, you'd have to include, and I hate to do it, but you'd have to include Beverly, because he makes $13 million, and you need that to be able to match salaries. But Beverly and Walker, or Beverly and Nunn, that's basically what I would suggest. Beverly, Nunn, and a couple of second-round picks, and maybe that those are both expiring contracts for them, so they get out of over $65 million. And the Hornets are basically in a, let's lose, and the Miles Bridges thing just really undermined all of their desires to improve. And now they got Melo injured to start the year. Westbrook could actually go in there and play and probably, help them in their efforts to tank this year, as well as, freeing up some cash so that MJ wouldn't be broke, or wouldn't have to pay for, he could make over $60 million in that particular transaction. And the Lakers could get 3 of the 4 guys that they need, and they're also perfectly aligned for being the starters. Terry Rozier is a point guard. the guy from the Spurs is a shooting guard, and Miles Turner is a center. And where do we want Anthony Davis to play? Where does he want to play? He wants to be a power forward. And LeBron basically is a three. He's a 0.3. And so it just all of a sudden gives you a starting lineup that's got, let's see, 45 points. They average 45 points between them compared to what do we got now? Let's see, I think maybe 15 points a game for Walker. Reeves probably averages 5. That's 20 points. Beverly probably averages 5. That's 25. So you get 45 points a game versus 25. And then you get those 3 guys that used to be your starters that give you that 25. They can be your top 3 reserves because we obviously don't have. We're reaching a lot of times for when you get that 7th, 8th, and 9th player right now is really not very good on our team. And if we could take the 3rd, 4th, and 5th player and make them the 6th, 7th, and 8th player, I mean, that's why it's so important to make this trade for Russ. It isn't really what Russ is doing to the team. It's the fact that we just need to get his body out of there and contract out of there and replace it with 3 guys who could be legitimate starters in the league if we could put together the right trade. And the good news is that's what they say Pelinka has been trying to do up until the start of the season, is get a multiple team trade so that he can get not just Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, but another key player from another team as part of that deal. And obviously, if you're going to trade Russell Westbrook, you need a starting point guard, and Schroeder's doesn't really qualify as that, in my opinion, nor is he going to be ready to do that, And I mean, how long can the Lakers wait? I don't think they can wait any longer. I mean, if we're 0-4 right now, AD is, limping a little bit with his back. LeBron is getting frustrated. Russ is ready to come back in.
Well, I think that's probably why they're not making those calls to Utah and Indiana. I think that's the sealer, is even if they were to upgrade the team, they're not sure if AD is going to make it through the year. And as far as LeBron's concerned, LeBron is going to be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. That could be his, I guess.
I don't think he's satisfied for that as what his accomplishment for the year.
I agree, but ultimately, I think that's what he's going to have to deal with. The Lakers are in such a bad position in so many ways. And you have
I don't think they are. I don't think they are because I think those draft picks are so valuable that there will be competition for them. The teams will make the offers higher once the Lakers start talking to different people. And then once everybody knows that they're going to trade him, that, hey, there's no more stalling. There's no more stalling. There's no more waiting for Kyrie. There's no more waiting for new people to emerge who are suddenly tanking and they're going to send us all of their all-stars, in a trade for Russell Westbrook and a couple of picks, 5 and 7 years from now.
Maybe James Harden, since Philly's struggling.
Right, yeah. Lord, we don't want the Lakers. We don't want the Lakers. Frankly, I'm a big fan of thinking outside the box, but the last thing I want the Lakers to do is think outside the damn box. That's why we're in the problem. That's why we're in the trouble we're in, because they thought outside the box. They thought, we don't have to surround LeBron with just shooters. There are other ways to do this, There are more than one way to skin a cat.
It's hard to have any other team set up for LeBron except shooters, because his game is predicated on dish, and more dish.
Yeah, because otherwise you turn him into a jump shooter.
And that tonight was
he's an okay jump shooter, but
yeah, he's probably the best jump shooter we have at the moment.
He is the best jump shooter we have.
Just under 27%, I believe. It was 26.5% from tonight.
Right, but his frankly, his shot selection as far as when he takes a jump shot is it's hard to judge on a person like LeBron because of the energy he has to, if you played the game, the energy he has to expend when you drive in over and over, it just takes so much out of you that if you had any brains in your life, you learned how to shoot, because you need that in order to rest, to be able to continue to play at that frantic pace that he plays. He has to take some jump shots, and you can see from the stats that as he's gotten older, he's taking a lot more. I mean, he averaged 8 threes last year. He was like in the top 10 people as far as number of 3-point attempts he made per game. And that's not going to change as he gets older. So the thing is that it's a lot better when he can just take one in rhythm. It's just like everybody else. When you're standing there and you get a nice pass in rhythm, it's a second or third pass, and you're expecting it, and you catch that ball in rhythm, and you fire it away in rhythm. Those are easy shots for guys. Those are the shots that go in. Versus trying to pull up off of a run and take a three from the top of the key or off of the sides. It's a lot of it is just what happens in the rhythm of the game and how those shots occur. This league has turned into a drive and dish league, and everything is predicated on that. And those are the threes you want. Those are the catch and shoot threes you want.
Very true.
Of course, we've been shooting those just as poorly as our overall 3-point percentage.
Well, some of the worst I've seen.
The averages were hilarious. One was like, overall we shoot 25% on wide open ones. We shoot 28%, something like that. It was really embarrassing numbers. But the good news is that this team can play defense. And if we could add 3 starters, if we really can go out there and get 3 starters, I think that we could be a contending team. If you could add Miles Turner and Buddy Hield and I don't know why I can't ever remember the guy's name. Who's the guy from the Spurs? Richardson. Josh Richardson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they could add those 3 guys, I think that we could play against anybody.
You're listening to the Lakers Fast Break. Yes, I am not Gerald Glassford. Gerald Glassford is in Los Angeles. I believe the band is ITZY, kids pop type stuff with his daughter. He is partying it up. I believe the concert is over right now. He's probably walking out from that huge crowd that's at the SoFi Stadium. But I'm here. I'm calling myself Joe Soro for the night, here with LakerTom. And I want to thank everyone that's on the show right now, making comments. Guys, I'm trying to keep up with all your comments and running the show here. Hopefully we're doing a good job for you. But again, the Lakers are 0 for 4 and lost tonight to the Denver Nuggets, 110-99. The Lakers played exactly like they've been playing pretty much for the last year and change. They seem to play somewhat okay in the first quarter. They make a run in the second quarter. They go to halftime.
Well, we're only getting beaten by 10 and 15.
Oh boy, that's
like
not good.
Last year we were getting beat by 20 and 30.
We were getting beat by 30 and 47 in the preseason. To me, at this point, they don't look good. They don't look good hardly ever.
What is the over and under in your opinion, Joe, for how many games under 500 we get before Rob has to make a trade?
I am gonna say that Rob has already understood that the season is a botch. I don't think they're gonna trade those picks. It would have to be. It would have to be.
What are they going to tell LeBron then?
They're going to tell LeBron we have to wait till the end of the year. And I think LeBron isn't dumb. I think he knows what was coming. He signed the extension. Again, guys, I know a lot of people don't know this or think this because he's got so much money, but LeBron wasn't going to get the money he got from the Lakers anywhere else. So he signed the extension because of money. He does like LA. I know that. I know that through the grapevine. He loves LA. He likes where his family is. He didn't want to leave, and he might be thinking
he wants to be a Laker.
Yes, and
I
he
think
might
does
think
want to be a
he
Laker.
does, and he's enjoyed his time here. He's obviously won a title. I think there's a little bit of
But I don't know. I think it's a huge exaggeration to say that he's going to be. Let me start by saying that I'm sure that the understanding that LeBron had, because it's been publicly stated by Rob Pelinka, the understanding that LeBron had when he signed the extension was that the Lakers were going to use those picks to improve the team. So for them, first off, you can't reverse yourself in that situation. Pelinka can play hardball and he can extend the timeout to a certain extent, but there is an over and under. Maybe if you start off 0-7 or 3-10 and you're 7 games under 500 already, man, that makes you. We heard that at 0-4, there are only 2 teams that have made the playoffs in NBA history. So, Rob, I understand the logic behind your theory that in a perfect world without any emotions and without superstars, that I could understand why the Lakers could feel like, boy, maybe I ought to hold on to those picks for a year and see what I can do with them next year. But the problem is that you committed to LeBron James, man. And one of the things that the Lakers pride themselves in the way that they dealt with Kobe Bryant and the way that they've promised to deal with LeBron James and the way that they want every superstar who ever thinks about where to go in their career to think about the Lakers is they don't want any bad feelings between the Lakers and the last superstar that was there. They want Giannis to feel like at some point in time he wants to come to LA because that's where all the greats go, man. They have to make a gamble, and I think of the big problem. The big problem seems to me, Joe, that Pelinka's been so scared to make the decision that he can't pull the trigger. He's like a gambler who knows that if he doesn't pull off a deal, he is going to get killed. But every time he gets ready to pull off that deal, he thinks, God, what if I wait a little longer when something else came up, or what if Kyrie suddenly became available? I mean, God, the Nets look horrible. But then but Kyrie's playing fine. Why would the Nets trade an expiring contract in Kyrie Irving for an bigger expiring contract in Russell Westbrook, especially because the $37 to $47 million difference requires them to add a player to the deal in order to match salaries. So that it's such a silly idea that, I mean, the smartest thing I heard was that the Lakers weren't interested in Kyrie specifically because of that. First, they couldn't afford him in free agency because there's no way to get, $45 million. We can't clear that much free. And, LeBron and AD make it impossible for you to get that much money. It can't happen. It's mathematically impossible. So, to me, 7 games is sort of like the death point. I think if we're already close to it, but real DEFCON probably is 7 games. If we go 0-7 or 2-8 or 3-10, man, we're pretty well cooked for the season.
Yes, it's. I mean,
so maybe he should. I mean,
in 2013, we fired Mike Brown after 5 games.
8 games, I think.
Was it 8 games?
I think it was 8 games.
I think it was 0-5, but they had lost.
0-5 does sound familiar, though.
Yeah, they had lost all 8. They lost all 8 of the preseason games.
But wasn't there some preseason games? Wasn't it like we lost 5 preseason?
We were 0-8 in the
preseason games and then 5, or maybe it was the other way around. Anyway, we fired him pretty quick. That was fast.
Yes, and then they were going to bring in Phil Jackson at that time for a second, and then they decided to not wait for him and go with Mike D'Antoni. Now, I saw a picture of Will Smith talking to Rob Pelinka earlier today, and I believe.
He's our new small forward.
Yeah, well, our good friend BDA Pink mentioned it. I'm glad you did, BDA. Thank you for bringing it up because I had forgotten about it. More parlor tricks from. I think this is a Jeannie Buss call because Jeannie
Yeah, I
Buss is the one that
definitely do.
brought Toby Maguire in one time. I think it was during the Carmelo.
It was almost like she just needed to have that selfie to add to her collection.
It gets worse the more these guys try. So we're sitting here trying to kind of demand them to do something, but they're incapable of doing anything. Why are you bringing Will Smith in to talk to this team? What is Will Smith, especially right now?
Yeah, they're doing it it's a good distraction, probably from a political standpoint. That's why they're doing it. Obviously, it's. But on the other hand, I think they would be doing it regardless because it's certain it's like the team building exercises that you do in a corporation just to try to create some bonding between the individuals that hopefully will affect and infect them to doing a better job because they'll be better teammates with their coworkers.
Was she trying to channel a Philly kid to come talk to her Lakers?
Yeah,
Kobe?
it reminds what it reminds me a lot of Phil. You remember Phil used to hand out the books and he used to bring in the motivation speakers and he used to bring in well, I think one time he brought in who was the guys who do the crazy exercise people that have millions and millions of followers and so forth. Richard Simmons and a bunch of crazy guys like that. But he brought in all sorts of wackos, meditation experts to teach guys how to meditate and so forth. And always was interested in anything that would create more karma for the Lakers, I guess, because he was a believer in karma.
that stuff works much better when you have Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaq.
Funny how that always happens, isn't it?
I'm not saying that Steve Kerr and Judd Bushler.
Well, the problem is it's got to work enough. It's got to work good enough so you can win a championship. And
yes, it might have. I always when you look back at that time, you know that. I mean, I watched enough video of Jordan and Phil in practice, knowing that Jordan really ran those practices. Phil just meditated everybody else, right. And then
Jordan ran the team, and Phil sort of smoothed the edges and directed him in the right direction.
Shaq and Kobe were the modern day Wilt and the new Michael Jordan. Yeah. I always say this, and I've said it for years. I said they were too talented to not win. That's why them not getting along didn't matter. They were just too damn talented.
But but just having, but it's funny how you notice that when the cast and crew changed and Phil was in New York, all of that magic seemed to disappear. The triangle disappeared. The magical ability to deal with, because there weren't any superstars. I guess that's part of the problem, wasn't it? But that was a reality dose that I thought was quite surprising, because I thought that Jackson would have. It was almost like he wouldn't give up his old school roots. He was determined to prove that even though the game had changed, the three-pointer had changed the game, he was determined to prove that the triangle could still work. And the problem, as you said earlier correctly, Joe, is that if he had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, it probably would have worked. Or if he had Kobe and Shaq.
Well, I think the New York stint was a money grab. I don't think Phil had any intention of being a legitimate player personnel guy.
No.
I think
his ego was a lot bigger then than it is now.
We come from our GMs, meaning Jerry West, Mitch Kupchak. Okay, that's my upbringing.
And Rob Pelinka,
right? I don't know about Rob Pelinka, but Mitch and Jerry go to the gyms. They're in those humid gyms, watching talent, scouting, teaching. He obviously taught his son Ryan. He taught the bus boys. Have you noticed that ever since the the new regime came in. The busboys became irrelevant. Ryan West, who was doing really good work, he's gone. It's like they almost came in and they said, we got LeBron James. He's going to help us get AD. And then they won the title and they turned into Jerry Jones. They became Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones won a championship in 1996, the 95 season, 96 Super Bowl. And he thought, oh, I want a Super Bowl without Jimmy Johnson. And he hasn't won diddly poo since. Why? Because these guys think they know what they're doing. And we're seeing evidence of this right now. Today, you're bringing Will Smith, a guy who's an actor who
I agree with you. I don't disagree with you, Joe. I think I think that you're right about the whole situation, because they took a winning formula and they really threw it out the window completely for 2 years. Not only a winning formula, but the idea that continuity counts, that having played together and having experience together, that counts.
AD said
that whole idea out the window for 2 years straight.
AD said it after the 2021 season. He said, let's run it back. That was the first, like when he said it, it was your 1A leader. You're 1 and 1A leader.
It's almost like the Lakers got, I don't know if we'd call it COVID guilt or something, bubble guilt. It's almost like the Lakers talked themselves into the idea that, you know what, we won in a bubble, man. But we probably, if we weren't in a bubble and we had to go through the whole season, we could be in trouble. So
I don't think that's true, Tom. I watched them play the last 2 months of that season. They were coming. They were putting it together. They beat Milwaukee. They beat the Clippers.
I know they had that weekend where they dominated the Clippers and the Bucks.
They were playing well before. And the thing is with that team, one of the things that I was trying to, this is before obviously I got on the Lakers fast break, but one of the things I was saying from November to January, okay, you're talking about a team that was brand new, right? These guys never played together, okay? Sometimes it takes a minute for even superstars to play together. So when they were playing that first 4 months, they weren't winning those games against the elite teams, right? But they were close. But they were winning the games they were supposed to win. And that sometimes happens. You're supposed to win. You're supposed to win those games that you're supposed to win, right? And then if you're kind of struggling a little bit with some of the more talented teams, they weren't getting blown out. They were very close in a lot of the games. They won a few here and there, but they really turned it on once things really really went to the next level.
They had the best record and they won the matchups.
So, and that's the part I explained about the bubble. People like to say, "Oh, the bubble was."
But but in retrospect, for some reason or another, they screwed it up. They screwed it up for 2 years. Although here's the truth of the matter is that even if they brought back the same crew and run it back, if LeBron and AD both had got injured in both of those years, we would have sputtered out at the end anyway.
I think would have been fine. I think that team, one of the things I also said about that team is you never heard a peep out of that team. It was the most bland.
But in the bubble, LeBron and AD shot the ball from 3 and deep 2 like I've never seen them shoot the ball, and they haven't shot it since then that well. They were both amazing. I mean, it was AD shooting was just incredible that series. I mean, he never shot the ball, even in all of those great years that he had as a Pelican. He never shot the ball like that. Unfortunately, he hasn't shot the ball like that since. But he's getting to the rim well. He's getting to the rim more than he ever got. So that's good to say. And he's shooting like 80% at the rim. So it's great to see him. And he started off tonight doing the same thing.
I'm going to have to get some statistics on that. I'm going to see what he was shooting between November and March. We'll talk about that on the next show.
Well, he's gone something like 3 out of 18 or something like that in his jump shots. His jump shot's not been falling.
It's hard to, I guess, have a consistent jump shot, especially right now when your back is constantly jacked up.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
The other thing
not enough spacing, Tom. I don't think there's enough spacing for him to really get comfortable either.
Well, what happens is when the spacing doesn't, when there's no spacing, he ends up taking the jumpers. That's when he takes the jumpers. Otherwise, he's going to the rim every time. And that's the same thing LeBron, Ham's offense is great because when you put 4 guys on the perimeter, it allows you to spread guys further out than having 5 guys in offense. Because if you have everybody out on the outside, the guys are closer together than if you just put 4 guys on the circle on the outside. So Ham's right in how he gets the spacing in it, because what the Lakers want is they want to get by the first guy. They don't care who's in the paint. LeBron wants to get by the first guy, because if he gets in the paint, he's got options. He can pass the ball to open shooters. He can stop and jump and shoot, or he can drive around the guy, or he can drive through the guy and get a basket. But the problem is that even with that change in the offense and so forth, they got to make some shots, man. You can't shoot you can't have a deficit of 3-point shooting in every game like that and shoot so terrible. We're 30th. We have the worst shooting percentage from the 4 for all shots on the floor and from 3-point range. We're 0-4. We're 0-4, but we've been playing great defense, so we have potential. But what we lack are 3 guys to start. So Rob should get on the phone. If he doesn't get on the phone, he's a freaking idiot, man.
I don't think he's capable of making the correct call. And right now, in terms of talent,
it's the speed dial, man. The number's on speed dial.
He would get
He's
barbecued.
already called the number of times.
He is worried about getting barbecued. He's worried about getting barbecued. Even in what is it 2022? We're talking about in 5 years, in 7 years. If we end up losing out on a player, at that time, somebody's going to go find him. You know.
You mean Victor's the 2020?
If they end up losing out on a first pick that ends up being a Giannis or a LeBron, they are going to go nuts. It's just not. I don't think there's.
I'll tell you, by the time that draft happens, I would bet you that pick will have been traded 3 or 4 times. It's going to become the version of crypto. It'll become the NBA's version of crypto.
Oh boy!
It'll be the trade that everybody wants. You want this young player? You better throw in the trade you got from the Lakers.
Crypto did well today, by the way. I think it went up about 15%. I don't know.
Crypto.com is laying people off like crazy. Would like to get out of the lease.
It's the thing is, we are all prisoners of the moment. Okay, we think at this moment was the worst thing ever, and
well, it's just basketball. So, man, I mean,
in the end, it is just basketball, but it is a big part of our life.
Yep.
If you have a balance, it's not as catastrophic, but we also have a duty to speak about this now. Now there's a crowd out there that wants to listen to our opinions and wants to listen to how we feel and solutions and all those things. And it's enjoyable because it's competition. At least that's how I explain to it. Because I have friends of mine that are constantly asking me, why do you care so much? What this doesn't make F them, F this, because they're all millionaires and this and this and that. I said, that's a weak-minded response. I said, sit there going, well, because they're rich.
You want to win.
I said, exactly. I tell them, I said, it's
the same
competition.
Reason the players are playing the game. That's why we're rooting.
The same reason why someone goes and gambles or someone does things like that gets the juices going. I go, it's my favorite teams. This is what it does for me. I don't go and worship, players. I don't go bow down to them. Hell, I don't even wear their jerseys anymore because I just don't. That's not what I do. I wear their gear.
But it's funny how some people don't have that. Like my wife doesn't have that. She's a great fan. She's a great fan. She roots for the Lakers. She rah-rahs and she jumps in there and she'll put on her hula skirt and she'll do anything, She'll wear a Laker hoodie and so forth, but she doesn't really get it. She wonders, what the hell is that idiot doing this for?
Well, I don't think my wife thinks I'm an idiot.
How could it used to affect my life? you know?
Yeah, no, I think
A good day or a bad day would depend on whether the Lakers won.
I think they've gotten used to how we do this. And what's exciting is the time when we do win. And luckily for us, this is the part also that you got to
This is
be
starting to smack like last year, man.
you
I
can't be
tell you.
you can't be unreasonable too. You got, this is the part where I'm constantly playing back and forth on how I really feel about Jeannie and the Laker organization. It's
You're
hard
being
for me
too
to
nice,
really.
Joe. You're being too nice.
I'm not being nice. I'm trying to be
I know
fair.
it's hard because Gerald's gone.
No, that's not why. I'm trying to be fair. There are some things that she's done, and it's not even really basketball related, that I'm really against. But when you start sitting on a high horse, you start getting in trouble. So you got to be careful you don't go too far on that. The issue right now is in terms of the balance of happy and depression, right? Is at least for Laker fans, we have something to look back on and enjoy too. Like if I ever get really upset about how they're playing, I'll pop in Game 7 of the 2010 Finals. I'll pop in Game 2 of the 2009 Finals if I want to watch something really stressful but fun. I'll pop into Game 7 of the Sacramento series in 2002. We have something we can go back to and say, oh man, this was nice, right? There's a lot of teams out there that don't have that. However, we gotta also stick to the future. We gotta stick to now, and I'm a big supporter of that. The past is the past. Yeah, enjoy some things, but right now, every little mark that I'm seeing is just. I feel like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And
well, we're losing our competitive edge that we naturally got from being in Los Angeles, man. Because now all of a sudden, Jeannie won't pay the luxury taxes that Ballmer will pay, that the Nets
I
will pay.
don't think the Clippers are going to be. If you want to say Golden State, that's fine. But I told you guys this at the beginning of the year. I believe the Clippers are going to tank bad, not tank.
I think already they're finding that.
I don't think Kawhi can play.
Talk about putting Anthony Davis in street clothes. Do you know he played the last 2 years more games than either one of the Clippers' supposed superstars?
Yes.
Get that, fans. Anthony Davis, who gets just murdered for nicknamed as street clothes just because of injuries, outplayed Kawhi Leonard and Paul George of the Clippers the last 2 years. And what happened with George already and with Kawhi already? He's already doing load management and has missed 2 games.
Yes. And I knew that was as soon as I heard he was going to come off the bench in this first game.
And they're going to bring him off the bench.
I was like, oh, guys, come on. Just tell me what's really going on here. So, Richard, you're saying that I'm very polite in giving them the benefit of the doubt, which they don't deserve. You're right.
They are the Clippers. Donald Sterling and everything else that goes with it.
You are right. You are right in that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt based off of even recent success. The Lakers won a championship literally 2 years ago. And there's a little bit of a buffer there, I guess, that keeps me from going completely out. But at this point in time, everything in my gut tells me unless there's a superstar that demands a trade by the deadline, the Lakers are going to have to forfeit this season and have to start over this summer.
They're not going to do that.
I just can't see them trading assets unless it's for a game changer. And I don't know who's gonna demand a trade by the deadline. I just don't.
If the Lakers for their 2 draft choices and Russell Westbrook could get Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, and Josh Richardson. If they could get those 3,
but they can't get those 3 of those assets.
Let's say not Richardson. Let's say that it's Terry Rozier because they need a point guard. So if they could get Turner, Rozier, and Hield, Rozier and Hield both shot 40%, our career 40% 3-point shooters who last year both had over 8 attempts per game. That would give you
Will he
great
shoot that
three-point
well in a
shooting
Laker
and
uniform?
size.
Will he
Pardon?
shoot? Will they shoot that well in a Laker uniform? That
Well,
plays a
I think
factor in it too.
here's the thing: if we've never had an elite shooter, Buddy Hield is a 10-year veteran. He has shot. He's second in time that he's been in the league. He's second to Steph Curry on 3-point attempts and in 3-point percentage. So we're talking, and same thing with Rozier. See, the problem is you get a guy like Tim Ryan coming into the Lakers who looks like a hot 3-point shooter.
Matt Ryan.
So he looks like a hot 3-point shooter, and yeah, he's got style, he's got form, and so forth. But to do that in an NBA game for a whole season with NBA defenders on you and the pressure of doing that, you don't know how. That's why you can't take a guy who shoots 40% but shoots 3 threes a game. He's nothing compared to a Buddy Hield who shoots 10 threes a game. Or for Terry Rozier who shoots over 8 threes per game. Those guys, you have to be able to get your shots. You have to be able to relocate. Some guys, it's like Steph Curry. Steph Curry handing the ball off to somebody is the most dangerous player in the world because he can go in 3 directions. And the play, and you never know, he can reset himself so quickly to get an open shot. Buddy Hield is very, very similar in that sense. Plus, Hield also was average last year when he played with the Pacers. He was averaging 4.5 assists. So he's really diversified his game. He's, and he has size. He's 6'5" as a defender, Rozier, the Lakers need a point guard who can get his shot, and whose shot that he's going to get is going to be a 3-point shot.
So Richard on the chat said he heard a trade. This isn't something I haven't heard yet.
Mm-hmm.
Went in Gabriel, Max Christie, Russell Westbrook at a first rounder for Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, and Gordon Hayward. That trade would make sense. There's only one little thing I do. Because you're taking on that huge contract for Rozier, I would tell Charlotte and Mitch, guys, we're going to take on this big contract. You got to at least give me a top 5 protected for. You got to give me top 5 protection on that first round. Now, I know that there's some CBA stuff that I need to look into that might not allow that.
No, I think you nailed the negotiation and the strategy on it. It's funny. I wrote an article a few days ago where I had 5 trades that I thought the Lakers should consider if they're available, and one of the trades was 2 picks, and that was the Pacers trade. But I also said that they have to throw a third player in. They have to throw in, for example, McConnell, who's an outstanding defensive point guard and has like a 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. But the other 4 trades were all single pick trades. And so I think that there's a lot of interest in the Lakers have always wanted to have a pick next summer, in addition to the pick that they'll probably get, although the Pelicans still have an option they have an option to swap this year, and I think next year they have an option to push it off to another year if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know if we're going to have a pick in 24. But it's funny, the word that Eric Pincus and that Jovan Buha have put out is that the Lakers have been looking at 2 and 3 and 4-team trades, meaning that they don't want to give up just the 2 picks and just get Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. They want a 3rd or 4th player somehow to be included, and they're willing to throw in none for salary ballast, and they're also willing probably to throw in Beverly. So all of a sudden you've got $18 million, 13 and 5 with Beverly and none. You got $18 million to add on. So that $18 million could get you some players, especially if you're willing to take on a guy like Terry Rozier, who has owed $96 million over the next 4 years.
And that also gives us the advantage in the summer with what we talked about. This is the part where I always agreed with you on this because of the way the CBA is structured. Is we're not going to miraculously have $47 million available at the end of the year.
Right. Nope.
We're going to lose about $14 million of that if we don't do
Right.
anything. So by bringing in Rozier now, if there does become
We're gonna eat up $20 million of the 35.
it is. I mean,
we're gonna eat. The truth is, we're gonna eat it up completely because the only way that you keep it all is you let Russ's contract expire, which means the whole year is
right.
toast, or alternatively, you find some idiot who is willing to trade and take Russ, and will give you back expiring contracts in return. Now, I think that what's interesting for us is because we have Nunn's contract, which is expiring, and we have Beverly's contract, which is expiring. So you could just give $18 million of expiring contracts to the Hornets and take Rozier's $96 million off their hands.
Mm-hmm. And that might be what they have to do. They might have to.
And for the Hornets,
spots.
think if you're, 96 minus 18 is 86, it's $78 million. You don't think MJ would like to have $78 million back?
At what point are the Charlotte Hornets going to try to win a championship? Is the question over there.
First they thought this is why they were trying to push Rozier, because they thought, well, we're going to have to spend a lot of money and we don't want to be in a luxury tax. So if we have to give Miles Bridges max money, man, we got to get rid of Terry Rozier. Well, now all of a sudden they got Terry Rozier, but then they're thinking, well, wait a minute. That sucker's a pretty good player. He's going to win a lot of games. If we want a chance to get ping pong balls for Victor, we don't want to win games, man. Bridges just screwed us over. Our base is not going to accept that. You can't have a wife beater on the team.
No, not at all. No.
I mean, come on, man. There's a limit. So it's time to tank, man. And what's better than tanking than saving money that I would have spent otherwise on a losing team?
Well, you're listening to the Lakers Fast Break with your host. Yes, it's Ox 1947. I know you see the name here. I thought it'd be kind of funny. LakerTom has been captaining. Is that a word? Captaining the ship. Skipper. He's the skipper tonight, guys. I'm trying to assist Tom and letting him give us some good commentary here so that we can feel a little bit better tonight. I know I might seem a little somber and calm. Yes, people, I do live that kind of life sometimes yelling and shouting. I like to equate it to, if anybody remembers, Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher had that's probably why I love him so much. Bill Cowher had a very good balance of being a complete psycho and being one of the calmest people you'll ever see on a football field. I think at some point in your life, you have to have a little bit of a balance, and then you pop off every now and then to, for the right things. So tonight, the Lakers lose again. The Lakers are 0-4. Tom believes that there's going to be something at some point that's going to push this over. I don't believe that. I believe Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss are absolutely incapable of making something work here this season. My only hope is that they create something in some way where they go into next offseason with some assets to sign or trade for someone that's going to put us in title contention next year. I don't know how this is all going to work. I know we've had some of our esteemed listeners here mentioning some 3 and 4 team deals. Those are extremely difficult, and it's really difficult when you have a general manager who's not necessarily liked in the league. So my thing with the Indiana trade is the same as before. I don't know if the Pritchard gang is really going to try to do anything for us. I think that's a big part of this, guys. Danny Ainge, I mean, Did he try? Did he send us Beverly for THT without a draft pick to butter us up? I bet you he did that trade to butter us up, knowing how desperate we would be.
He wants a one pick trade.
No, and, Richard, this is not a bad dream. This is a bad reality.
The problem the Lakers are facing here, but back up a second. I know how hard it is to not see what's happening this year and think, man, I saw this movie again. I saw this movie. This is last year. It's happening all over again. But it's not. It's not. So stop worrying about it. Because you have to be able to see the trees and not get lost by the forest. Or is it the other way around? Yeah, it depends on the detail orientation. You have to see the forest. At any rate, here's the big difference. The Lakers aren't getting blown out in all of these games. They could be 2-2 right now. They could be actually 3-1 had they made their shots. And those shots they're going to improve because they're not a 20% shooting team. Unfortunately, they're not a 35% shooting team either, so they're probably a 30% shooting team, which is where most of the guys in the NBA are, because everybody knows that unless you're just a big center or somebody who has special talent, that you better be able to shoot the rock from distance or else you're limited. And that, unless you just happen to be the biggest, tallest guy in the world, that's going to stop you. So the Lakers can solve the shooting problem. And they have to be ready to pull the trigger on the picks. And I believe I understand where Joe is coming from. Frankly, I think it's partly a reverse psychology effort by him to try to fool the basketball gods. Not try to fool the basketball gods.
I've done stuff like that before.
Yeah, don't try to do that. They might get angry and give us last year again. We don't want that to happen. They sort of said, you guys got maybe a little advantage in the bubble because some of the teams couldn't make the adjustments. So, that's going to be injuries the next 2 years, guys. Sorry. But hey, once you get to 21, 20, 22, 23, we're going to give you a chance to have a healthy team. Of course, you better trade for some shooters before it's too late, or don't blame us. And that's where it really comes down to. The Lakers got the opportunity because those picks are gold. Everybody wants those picks. They know that the Lakers have to give them up. So once the Lakers agree that we're going to give them up, then the question becomes, who really wants them? And what are they willing to give us for them? I think the Lakers will do well because everybody's logic remembers. Can you remember 5 to 7 years when let's say Kobe's Achilles? Jump forward 5 to 7 years and think of what the Lakers picks were. I think that was probably the Lonzo pick and maybe the Ingram pick. That's a couple of number twos that a lot of teams would love to have at number 2 that they got on a protected pick. Then they got him for taking Russell Westbrook, his expiring contract, and saving a lot of money in the process. Tanking teams, what do tanking teams want to do? They want to get rid of players who make a lot of money and have long contracts.
But they don't really do that in the NBA. That's
sure
more
they do.
Major League Baseball thing. When does an NBA team that's going to compete coming into a year?
They do that, but where you have to be situated. Remember last year the Portland Trail Blazers pulled off that trade with the Clippers, where the Clippers got 2 great players.
But that wasn't them saying to hell with the season.
Yes, it was. It was them saying these multiple year contracts we want to dump, but the only thing we will take back is expiring contracts. And guess who had the expiring contracts that they could
But
send.
was Portland ever going to win a title last year? No.
But they're in a tough situation because they can't totally tank because of Dame.
The NBA has to have its relevant stars demand to go, and they rarely demand during the season. And any team that's going to get to January and say, you know what, this is not going to work, I guess you could say this. I will say this. If Brooklyn really goes into January, I don't know, what would it be, 40 games in? If they're sitting at 15 and 25, there might be something there. There might be something there. But the problem there is,
by that same time, what will the Lakers' record be?
Lakers are not – Kevin Durant's not coming to L.A. to play with LeBron, and Kyrie is an expiring contract. What's the incentive of trading that guy for a Westbrook unless, of course,
and you got to include another player just to match salaries.
Right, and I would love to get Joe Harris. Joe Harris would be a nice player to get from that.
Yeah, that's a good trade.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It's so let's say this.
Wait a minute. Here's why they would do it. For those two.
Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right.
And 29.
You're right.
Solid gold jewels.
The issue with waiting till January is the Lakers might be 10 and 30 by then.
You got to kiss your season off.
So there's so many variables.
That's 20 games. See, I think the over/under is 7 games.
There's so many variables.
Do it by 7 games, or start thinking about trading AD.
There's so many variables. There's so many things that have to go a certain way for the Lakers to have a shot.
But you see the things that are happening, because it's first we know that chances are Friday Ruffs returns, but he's going to be coming off the bench.
Oh boy, I'm scared. I'm scared about Friday.
Woj just made that clear.
They've been getting shellacked in Minnesota this last year.
Minnesota had a big win tonight, just right after Cat basically chastised the young kid for ordering too much Popeyes and eating too much Popeyes. The kid came back and dropped 16 in the first quarter, and
Anthony Edwards
had like 40 points for the game or something.
The Wolves took a massive risk in getting Gobert and trading a lot of assets for him. And it's all predicated on that guy being the next guy. If he's not at least a Giannis in terms of impact, I'm going to say probably within about a year or so, you're going to start seeing Karl Anthony Towns demand to get out.
It's an interesting situation because you see the trend in the league has been consistently, especially with centers, that not only are they being completely devalued, but a lot of teams basically aren't willing to play a center at the end of the game unless he's unique like Davis, who can actually cover guards and wings. A guy who can guard 1 through 5. And that's why I think that you see a lot of teams, when everybody zigs, there's always a tendency to want to zag. And
why this is relevant?
Playing 2 bigs is the zag that we're seeing.
Why this is relevant?
The Bucks version, you know.
Why this is relevant is because if we're going to sit here and say same old with one thing, you also have to say same old with other things. So the Lakers have been able to build dynasties and championship teams because other players have either demanded to come or happened to sign with us, right? Now, LeBron signing with us was an anomaly in a lot of ways. Usually superstars don't sign with the Lakers. Usually there's some form of a trade. And then obviously we've drafted the rest. So here's where this here's where I think this plays out based off of what I'm watching now, based off of what's going on. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. Groundhog's Day. You said Groundhog's Day. I said it sitting in my seat by myself today when they ended up blowing that tie game going into the third, right? I'm like, this is like Groundhog's Day. I was talking to myself. I was just looking around for no reason. I'm like, what's going on here? This is Groundhog's Day. Where's Bill Murray? And my thinking is what's going to happen is probably what's going to happen is there's going to be a superstar that's going to demand a trade. There's going to be a demand to go somewhere. And the Lakers are going to be that prime team where they're like, I want to go there. And that'll be that third guy that they've been wanting. Because I don't know if they're going to be able to find enough 3D guys that are going to be paid less than $20 million. I don't know if they're going to be able to find
like
those.
you said, Joe, 5 out of 6 times that happens, it happens off season.
Yes. That's why I said this season's shot. Unless by some miracle the Lakers are at least, let's say, 500 going into January. Let's just say that happens. And then Brooklyn is a crap show. And they're like, the hell with this. We're trading Kyrie for a couple of draft picks.
Yeah, but but time is, that's why this concept of an over and under of how many games below 500 a team can fall to, I mean, reasonably, I think it's pretty certain that if you fall, let's look at the first 20 games that they're theoretically talking about. I mean, that was the quote patience plan. We're gonna keep Russ going into the season. We'll see if he works out. If he doesn't work out, we'll move him to the bench. If that doesn't work out, we'll send him home. But we're gonna see how the team does. 20 games takes us past Thanksgiving. In fact, the 20th game is November 30th. So let's say out of 20 games, our record is 5-15. That's a -10. If you end up with 5-15, you know what it really says? It doesn't say time to trade. It says the time to trade was 20 games ago.
It's mind-boggling to me how NBA professionals can't hit open shots at least at a 30% clip. It's like a guard shooting 50% from the free throw line. That's one of the things I could not stand about Lonzo Ball. I go, how are you going to win games? How are you going to win a game?
Well, he's turned himself into a 40% shooter, but he just can't stay healthy.
But you can't have a guard. You can't have your guard unless it's it's one of those guys like a Bruce Bowen, right? That you have to have that 3-point defense type thing, right? He makes up for it.
And you have to have 2 other elite shooters.
And part of why
to afford one of those guys.
Part of why that season that Anthony Davis had in 2020, the reason why that was such a dominant season in so many respects is you had your center forward hitting 83% from the line. It's devastating to a team.
Well, you also had Rondo playing the best play that playoff Rondo's ever had.
If that Rondo had showed up in the 2010 finals, the Lakers would have lost that series in 5.
Yep. Yeah, he was great.
There's no way Kobe would have been able to sit in the first row
he shot
waiting
over
for him to shoot.
40% from 3 just himself.
I mean, he wasn't missing. That was the thing. I was watching it and I'm going, is this what's going to happen? Look how. So those who are watching,
the only thing you can say about that team and the next year's team and the difference, I think that the smart, it's funny because Pelinka is such a faulted executive because guys that could make deals with thinking Drummond was a solution or DeAndre Jordan was a solution at center. It's just, anybody who makes the judgments to let Caruso walk, regardless of what other factors were involved, that, you've got to protect your player base if you're the general manager because it's your team. But Pelinka's did what he needed to do, which was to get a roster that could play defense. and he knew he couldn't get shooters because you can't afford shooters on minimum salaries, And I think Lonnie Walker the fourth, everybody talked about what a bust that was when we first announced that he was going to be our MLE signing, and just for 1 year. And I think he'll end up being a trading chip. I think he'll be part of the big trade because he's shown that he can play. He's got a nice quick move to the basket, and he knows how to finish. He's very good at adjusting the angle of the shot and being able to use the board properly. I mean, if Westbrook had his understanding of the mechanics of what happens when you're on the move and you put shots off the backboard at different angles and different speeds, he'd be a different player. So Pelinka's done a great job, and the only thing he needs to finish is the trade. The trade is the crux because the trade makes or breaks it. And that's the problem with thinking there is a trade to be made with 2 picks that will turn this team into a contender, a legitimate championship contender. And what I fear the team is going to do is take that second place trade that ends up with a Doug McDermott in a key spot who doesn't know how to play defense, doesn't have a center like Miles Turner, but only cost 1 pick. And,
well,
then the team maybe struggles and makes the play-in tournament and gets eliminated in the first round. And then everybody complains and says, why did we spend the pick on it when we didn't really get a championship? And they don't realize that it's really because you didn't spend the 2 picks for the combination of players that could take you all the way.
Proverbial
there'll be competition.
The proverbial rock and the hard place.
These are the best 2 opportunities. These are the best golden nuggets of picks that have come up for anybody. They're the picks that everybody's going to want. Like I wasn't kidding when I said by the time that pick gets used, it'll be moved 3, 4, 5 times. It's going to become, the gold nugget that's going to transfer every year, as GMs, just because think about it. None of these GMs are really thinking, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here for 27 and 29. I'm going to grab those picks. They're not thinking that. They're thinking, man, these are the trading chips I need next year when I want to make my big deal, when I want to make my big move. I got to have these picks next year. They're not thinking of 27 and 29. 27 and 29, that ain't going to be me. I'll be an owner of a club by then, or I'll be working for the Lakers or the Celtics. They'll all be thinking that same thing. These are guys obviously who are running the Pacers or the Hornets or the Spurs or any of those teams that are tanking for Victor. So they'll all be looking for those picks, and they'll be looking for them as trading chips.
I find it interesting that Jeannie extended Rob to 26, and that's the same timeline as.
Yeah, she's still rewarding Kobe.
Yeah,
she thinks he's Kobe.
Yeah, that's I've talked to my friends.
I'll bet at times when they're talking, she accidentally says, "What do you think, Kobe?" I mean, Rob.
Well, the thing is, I'm still trying to figure out why Kobe respected a used car salesman type so much. Are we being hard on him?
Yeah, I think you are being hard on him. I think that first off, yeah, to be a successful agent, you have to really have 3 things. Number 1, it's a business, and you really got to understand the economics of running it and how you build a network of people that are stakeholders in that business that include, your vendors, your customers, your employees, your partners, and your suppliers. And then secondly, you have to understand the game of basketball and be able to pick the players that are winners, because those are the guys you want for your clients. You don't want clients that are going to be hard to find places for. You want the best clients. So you got to be able to sell. I don't buy any of the stuff that there's a Lakers tax. I think that it's going to be hard to make a deal because it'll be hard to make a deal. Let's put it this way. What will be hard is to make a deal that does not include 2 unprotected picks. But once you get to that point of saying, I'm willing to give up 2 unprotected picks, then you can get what you want. The Lakers haven't gotten to that point yet, but they're rapidly approaching but at that point is rapidly approaching as we're 0-4 now. You don't think by the time we're 0-7, there's no way Rob can be sitting there saying, we still need 13 more games before I can really make an intelligent decision. What are you going to learn in those 13 games that you don't know now?
Ultimately, I believe it's still going to be the Jeannie Buss decision. Jeannie Buss is going to have to say, drop the hammer, go get what we can get. But I still say
she doesn't want LeBron to be.
But I'm not. Again, Richard brings the Will Smith thing. I think that's why I'm not upset right now. A lot of it is because if you're yapping all the time and shouting, you turn into Stephen A. Smith, where you're just constantly yelling all the time. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm going to react.
They're going to do something, and they'd like to wait. They'd like to wait to see if anything could happen with Kyrie.
But look at the things that they're doing. This is the stuff that drives me nuts. What the hell is Will Smith going to do for your team? You get Will Smith, and you still get blown out. What are you doing? How is that going to do anything? You have a head coach. You have an organization. You have a lineage. You have LeBron James and AD.
I'm sure it was just an event that was planned along with a whole series of events that will happen all year. It's all part of marketing the team.
When you're talking about a team, let's talk about Phil Jackson and what his process was, and probably what was his true gift. Because I don't want to marginalize what Phil Jackson.
But
in his career.
But also too, in both situations, both Chicago and Los Angeles, what Phil Jackson had in both situations was tremendous continuity.
I believe it was just us against
the same superstars and essentially the same cadre of role players during each team. Each one of those teams had their superstars and their role players, so that you had an organization that was used to winning, that really learned how to play that game. And whether you like the triangle as an offense or think it was outmoded for the modern game, when it was executed by the quality of players that they had, with the experience that they had and the chemistry that they had developed, it was almost an impossible team to beat. Both of those teams were.
The triangle would work. The triangle would work in today's game. The triangle will always work.
The triangle will work with the right people, but you'd still probably have to tweak it to.
Of course,
to include more 3-point shots. Than
one of the things that we used to remember seeing is this. Sometimes you just let the guy do his thing. That's what I love about NBA basketball versus the college game. You have that ability. You want to take advantage.
By the same token, you could have taken the talent that was on those two teams and played 2 or 3 different styles,
Sure.
Like, I don't have a doubt, for example, that Mike D'Antoni could have won championships with either team. It does take a coach to learn how to get your star players to respect the rest of the people on the team and understand the team is better when you contribute to the team, when you include them as part of the team, when you don't take every shot, when you share the basketball with people, when you play the game the right way, when you play defense as well as playing offense. All of those things are really important, and there's a lot of great coaches that can do it, but there's only probably 3 or 4 coaches that you could say, I could put them in any of those situations and they'd all win, because the game is really about the players more than anything else, Kobe and Shaq playing for Mike D'Antoni, I think they'd win a championship. Michael and Scotty playing for.
I don't know if I agree with that one, because Mike D'Antoni wouldn't have wanted Shaq on his team.
Well, let's say who's another coach who's got a lot of.
Let's say George Karl. If you had put George Karl,
let's say it's George Karl gets Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. I think it'd be a championship.
Oh boy! The thing is, okay. How about this? Does he win? Do they three-peat with George Karl? That's the question.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Um,
Phil was able to keep a relationship with at least Kobe for 5 years. Not Shaq though. Not Shaq.
all right. So this is not gonna. I don't know if this will be a popular observation with a lot of people because again, I could come off as a cynic and a little jaded in my observation of things. But when Kobe had that 1 year without anyone, Phil, Shaq, whatever, I think Kobe cared about winning so much that he's like, I gotta. Because I mean, after he wrote that book, the last season, I was even upset at Phil, and I loved Phil. I said, Phil, you can't betray the locker room like that. You can't tell people what's going on in there. That's not right. I don't care if you're rich, you have money. Come on, did you really need that much? Did you really need to sell that book like that? And I was upset at Phil for that. I didn't think that betraying confidence is a different that's a different business.
Right.
If you are, especially when it comes to you telling us that you told Jerry West to get
a lot about the character of a person who writes a book, what incidents they use to sell the book.
Well, again, the thing is, you sit there and you tell Jerry West to get the F out because you want this cohesive, no one interrupting this group situation, and then you write a book telling everybody what you did.
Right. Yeah.
And this is the part since I've been aging and maturing, these are the things that click. These are the things that I pay attention to, not so much because I think what happens is a lot of times we will rationalize and we will support those who we want to support.
And one of the connections that Phil that still lives today is Linda and Kurt Rambis.
And that's another part of this that's ridiculous.
I mean, I saw a post the other day where they were saying that when you look at the people that Jeannie ranks as to whose advice she follows more than anybody else, it was number 1, Linda Rambis, number 2, Kurt Rambis, number 3, Jim Harris, who runs the business side. I think his name is Jim Harris. And number 4 was Rob Pelinka.
Trusting.
So big decisions go through that route.
Okay, so as a owner, governor, whatever they call them now,
representing the person representing the owner.
It's your job to get the right people to be able to make the right business decisions for the team. If I want to feel good, if I'm in business, right? If I'm in business, I have best friends. Okay?
If you promote somebody and give them a raise and an extension, but you don't release that publicly,
finding
why is that?
Your best friends. Finding your best friends to run a particular business. Those guys better be able to be capable. I'm not going to just hire somebody because they're my friends.
Look at LeBron James. 3 years into his career, or 3 or 4 years into his career, he decides that I'm going to put my 3 best friends in charge of my business. One of them will take care of the marketing stuff. One guy will take care of the agency stuff. Another guy will take care of the financial stuff, the business stuff.
At the end of the day,
and basically had all three of those guys take mentorships, take internships essentially with professionals in the business to learn exactly what was happening and so forth. That's where Rich Paul came from. That's where
what was he selling CDs out of his...
all those 3 guys, everybody thought that's good. Hey man, he's got 3 guys from the hoodie who are just going to do all his jobs. He actually put them through courses, through mentorships with people in the business who knew what they were doing. And those 3 guys have all been incredibly successful at doing it. Nobody's ever done that before. Everybody who's done that before basically has always brought along 3 guys that didn't know what they were doing or didn't go about it in a professional manner. I mean, it's an incredible story. It's a single part of a story that it really is the heart of the whole embodiment of player movement. It's why LeBron is LeBron and so unique, and why everybody is now trying to create a brand that encompasses that type of reach, because he doesn't own anything to do with Clutch Sports Group, but Clutch Sports is him.
Well, on that note, again, you're listening to the Lakers Fast Break. Our good esteemed colleague Gerald Glassford is actually in my backyard, not literally, my California, in Southern California, I should say, at a concert. He is now heading home. We will have him back on Friday. Unfortunately, tonight the Lakers Groundhog Day us again, losing to the Denver Nuggets 110-99. Lakers shot abysmally again. I believe their three-point shooting was around 27 point whatever percent. And
Groundhog Day actually would be the perfect situation for them to learn how to shoot, sort of like Bill Murray.
I don't know how they're going to learn how to shoot. I figured that
they could all learn to shoot. All
got to the NBA. I thought they would be able to, but we are going to. And we've been getting just great comments on, as usual, by our fans here and by our listeners. I am not. I am upset, but I'm holding it in. I thought, just listening to Tom tonight was kind of therapy, at least for me too. His positiveness, his eloquent delivery does help, and I appreciate that, Tom. I think doing a show with you turned out exactly like I thought it would, very, very well.
Well, it's always fun with you too, Joe.
And thank you. I look forward to doing this again. But in the meantime, I do miss our guy Gerald, and he will be back on Friday. For everyone out there in the world, by the way, I found out, I believe it was a couple of days ago, that we're the number 4 basketball show in the Philippines. And I talked to one very good friend of mine who frequents the Philippines, and he says they're basketball junkies over there. And you're talking about a population of 120 million people. So the fact that we're number 4 in a country of 120 million people, and we know how crazy the Filipinos are over there with the Lakers, and they're obsessed.
What time is it over there too?
And I think it might be 1 o'clock there right now. Let's see, Philippines time. It's 2:05. I almost got it. It's 2:05 over there right now.
2:05 in the afternoon.
So for everyone in the Philippines listening right now, thank you for your support. We're hoping to get the number 1. Our ascent went up like 111 points, or 111 slots, I should say. So again, we appreciate your continued support. Everyone that's been listening here today, Richard, thank you so much for all the good comments. Who else we got here? We had the Golden Bear. I haven't actually known who Golden Bear is. Thank you for coming by. I hope you stay for future shows. Zangerstein, and where's our BDA guy? Denver Nuggets baby guy. Congratulations tonight on a win. We'll see you on Sunday. But before then, we will be back late Friday night. At least I will be. Tom, I'm hoping you're there as well. Gerald will be back hosting. We'll get back to, maybe I can kind of get back to my own little thing and maybe show a little more emotion. But in the meantime, thank you for listening onto the show. Tom, thank you for being on, and we will be back on Friday. And guys, stay cool, stay fun, stay good, stay healthy. Let's hope that we can get our first win on Friday. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.